Good evening, everybody. It's 9 o'clock. It's Thursday. Missed a day yesterday. Absolutely shattered I was. So we'll try not to let that happen again. Let's fade this out. Oh, all of a sudden. And let's switch to live screen. Hello. I'm joined today by a plant. It's, oh wow, look at that. It's green, like the green screen. So kind of appears like part of the desktop. Ooh. Just have this in front of me. Better. I'm also joined by my helpful friend, Back Scratcher. He's a great guy. Should just have him as like a character that I talk to now and again when 1BITGODOT isn't here to give me guidance. So today, 1BITGODOT sent me this code on a more simplistic version of a behavior tree. So we're going to be diving in and have a wee sneaky peek at what he did. Now, this is so awesome. It really is. Like, honestly, I made a promise to myself, having looked at this and gone through the code. I mean, it's quite simple in that clearly he's adhering to so the principles that he's learned, and he's able to build this up logically from step to step. But for me to be able to pull off something like this real quick is not so simple, because I am nowhere near at this level yet. So I've got to, one, stick to finishing my prototype. I've got to finish my prototype. If I don't focus on finishing my prototype, then I'm going to lose momentum and it's not going to happen. So I think one of the key principles for me making sure I finish the game is not being distracted and going off down a tangent of, you know what, I've got to work out this best all singing, all dancing way of doing and achieving something. I think looking at behavior trees was a good idea. But I think that, to cut a long story short, if I go down this road, I'm going to spend weeks trying to implement something like this and understand how it works, or at least a few days. And I've only got a few hours each evening, so that's probably not the most efficient use of my time. However, I want to come back to this. When we get to the point where I've prototyped and I've got the game working, that's when I go, okay, you know what? Now let's do this better. This is a successful idea, or the next project I'm working on. I'm going to focus on using this as my foundation. But for me to go back and change everything now, I mean, I'll just end up rewriting a prototype that I don't even know if it's a good concept yet. So with that said, let's have a look at what we've got. So we're going to switch into the coding screen here. I'm going to start off by looking at the initial script, the game script. Okay, let me just show you what this does first of all. It's just like, honestly, he's like, yeah, it took me a few hours and I just knocked it out. Honestly, I can't wait to see this guy's live streaming, which and have it just talk us through the way he thinks. But here we go. So you hit play, it fades out, music starts, fades in the music, fades in an image, fades out the image, fades in a title, fades out the title, and then gives us a counter, right? Okay, fancy pants, nice. And that counter will just continue forever, I believe. So how's he doing this? So the first thing we have is, this is what we were looking at the last episode. So he starts off with a game script. So the game script is a node. It has a variable of cutscene type task. So the class type task he's created. So a cutscene is set up here, and that cutscene is assigned to an opening sequence. That is a list of nodes in our node tree. And then we hit the start button. Boom. And the process for the main game is just to keep playing the cutscene until the cutscene is no longer a cutscene. By the looks of things, just if the cutscene's not equal to null, then try and run it, basically. If it can't run, delete it, get rid of it, don't use it anymore. So essentially, run the cutscene once and then ditch. Pretty cool. So, okay, so what's task? Very similar to what we looked at the other day. So task is an abstract class and should never be used directly in a game. Use only inherited task classes that are not abstract, okay? So this is our class name, and it is used to control the other tasks around it. So on the left here, we have a composite task, a counter task, a fade in out task, play animation task, a play audio stream task, a sequential task, a task stop task, a task wait task, and a task time wait task. And these are all fairly obvious what they do, but we're going to drill into each one of these and have a look at what 1BITGODOT's done. So, signal completed. Connect this to a signal if you need to know when the task is completed. Great, okay. Export var enabled. So when this is false, the task run method must immediately return false. Okay, so that basically means that I'm not sure actually. When it's enabled, so for an individual task, whether it's enabled or not, essentially. Start method is for initialization of the code required by a specific task. This method should only be called once until the task stops running. So if we go back to game, we can see that's the first thing we do. We start it. It's just weird because there is no start function, but I believe that so that's just a constructor, right? So we're setting an empty method here for our class, and then we are providing it in each of these subtasks, these tasks that inherit tasks, we're giving it some function. So what does the task do? Well, it only does three things. It runs. If it's enabled, it runs. And once it's finished running, it says it's completed. Otherwise, it then returns false. So the run method should return true if it's running. The message, so enabled means it's running, right? The method should be called from process or physics process. Okay, so interesting. We're not actually doing that anywhere, are we? Oh yeah, we are. Right, run. This is the main thing. So we start it in ready, and then we run it in process. And then when it finishes running, it emits a signal to say, I'm done. If it's not enabled, it immediately returns false. I've not seen this before. If not enabled, return false in that sort of pretty cool. That syntax. The stop method should contain code to interrupt the task. For example, an animation task should stop and reset the animation, right? But otherwise, all it does is set enabled to false. And get subtasks, it looks. So get subtask returns an array of child nodes that are tasks. So it actually looks to see like what children there are in the tree. So this whole thing is programmed to work with a Godot tree of nodes, which is really cool. So we're going to come back to that in a sec. Let's look at fade in background. That's the first thing that we do when we play that. So what is fade in background? Well, that's a fade in out task. So a fade in out task will fade in or out any node. How does it do it? So you point to the node. So it's actually saying, look, just tell us what node you want to fade in or out. You can stick it in there, but it's such a useful helper function. You just tell it, you point it at what you want to adjust. So if I click the fade in and out object here, we can see on the right, at the moment, it's going to fade in or out the background. You can see the task is enabled, and it's going to fade from 0 to 255. So that'll be the alpha. And how long is it going to take to fade? And we'll come to wait. I'm not sure what that does yet, but we'll come to that. So 1BIT has basically gone through and set up all this to make you to be able to allow you to control the full setup of the task from within the tree. It's awesome. I would never have thought. I mean, actually, I was trying to do something like this, but I'd never thought to do it like this. And to use it with this sort of behavior tree system is incredible. So, quick look at the start function. So, obviously, we're inheriting from task. So, start is empty. It's an empty function. So, we're overriding this with our with our code here. So, we check to see if a tween exists. If there isn't a tween, it's going to create a new tween object. Great, so we don't need to add it to our tree. We're just creating it here. Boom, and then presumably getting rid of it once it's done. So we set up the tween. We set up a signal to wait for the tween to be completed. Add the child to. You can just do .add child. That's awesome. I did not know you could do that. So presumably that's just basically like self. If target node equals null. So what's a target node again? Oh, that's what your target. No, that's the node path. Target node is a private variable. The actual node. Let's have a look. Fetch target node. Oh, okay. So we might have not got it yet. So if target node is not set, then get it. And the target node is whatever you've set up here. So we're pulling whatever the user selected up here. Then the color. So grab the color. A color links straight to the modulate function. And it's saying, right, change from the existing color. Ah, my goodness, this is what I was trying to do before, right? Because I was like, oh, every time I change the color, I've got to have a fade in from black and a fade in from white. But this is actually how we just dictate the existing color already, because we're pulling it from the target node. Fade from, so that's the value here. So it's going to fade from 0, and it's going to fade to 255 in this case. Oops. Wow. Oops. They could do with some min max up here in the fade to and fade from. And then fade started equals false. Fade finished equals false. So initializing these values, and then when it runs, it says, okay, well, if I'm not enabled, just get out of here. But if I am enabled, then if the fade hasn't started, then start that fade. So it's going to start the tween. And then it's going to return wait. So wait is a bool. So it's still waiting for. Okay, yeah. So it's basically doing an and between wait and not fade finished. So it's going to keep going until the tween is completed. And then we've got a signal here. So when the tween is completed, fade finished gets set to true, and it sends out a little completed signal from this. And then we've got a stop, which should reset everything. So tween.stop, target node modulate. So it stops the tween. Don't know why it sets it to Z. What's Z? Not sure why it does that. And then it disables itself. Super. So let's have a quick look at the node tree on the left and see how this is put together. This is where the magic happens. So over here, I'm just going to zoom in a bit here. Oop, that didn't work. Let's try that again. There we go. So I'll just throw this down here. So looky here. So at the moment, we've got the background, the title image, the title area, the counter label, right? So that was the background image that was, the color was changed on. That's the title image, which had the logo, which is that. The area title, so that was the text that looks like that. And that's the counter label that counted 1 to infinity. So, and as you've got the music player, the stream player. So you've only got 5 little elements there, super simple. And then the cutscene. So the cutscenes is like a folder node. It's just containing all the sequence which we're going to play here. And so you can have multiple cutscenes in here. So our first cutscene is opening sequence. And in opening sequence, we have our main script, which is our sequential task. So it's defining that all these tasks are going to be played sequentially. So let's have a look. So the ready function runs a function called get subtasks. So that's getting. I'm not quite sure how that works yet. I'll come back to that. Is that part of this? Yeah, there it is. Right, it's get subtasks. It gets all the children underneath it. So that's going to get all these nodes here. And sequential task. It's going to step through that list of subtasks, and it's going to start them one by one. Subtask index start. Fabulous. And then, of course, the run. Very similar. It looks like it's waiting for each of these to complete. So if it's not enabled, or the index subtasks, it's complete, we've finished running, we've run out of nodes. Running is whether or not it's running or not, the subtask. If it's not running, go on to the next one and start it. And running equals true. Otherwise, we're complete. Let us know it's complete. Return running. See, already I'm struggling to keep a grasp of this in my head, because I understand it, but I have trouble just connecting all the dots. So very cool though, very cool. I mean, it's just nice, elegant code. So okay, so we got our opening sequence then. So we fade in the background, it runs that. Oops, hold on, where are we? Here. So it fades in the background, plays the music. We have a little time delay of 2 seconds. Then it fades in the title image from 0 to 255 to over 2 seconds. Another time delay, this time of 3 seconds. Fade out title image, fade in area title, etc. And then, just to be cheeky, a little test counter at the end. Let's have a look at our counter task. And our counter task is, so it's picking a label path. Where am I going to display the counter? Honestly, it makes it look like Child's Play. Really does. It's so good. So the start function is essentially checking to see if the label node is set or not. If it is, then we're going to get it from here. We set the counter start value. So in this case, we're allowing them to type it in here. Oh, it actually just goes to 255, and then the counter finishes. And then it sets elapsed time to 0. And then off it goes, counting and updating the counter. Fab. This is an interesting one. Composite task. I'm not sure if he's using this anywhere. Doesn't look that way. No. Let's have a look at the composite task and see what it does. So, use a composite task to run multiple tasks in parallel. All subtasks must be completed for the composite task to complete. Right. So, I wonder if this is done by creating yet another sort of parent in the node here. I'm guessing that would be the case, because we're doing another similar, we're using get subtasks. So we're saying these are the subtasks that belong to, so in the same way, opening sequence is a sequential task, a composite task. So if I were to create, change the script for opening task to composite task.
I'm here.
Hey, 1BIT Godot, how you doing? Oh my goodness, you should be in bed. Then presumably it's going to play all these at once. Let's just try it. I mean, it might not. Okay, it's not so easy. Probably needs a little bit of setup there. 1BIT, how are you doing today? Just looking at your code. It's been an entirely wonderful experience. Very, very nice. Very neat. It's just fantastic. You should release this. So cool. I'm not going to try and get composite tasks working, by the way. Sequential task, boom. I was saying at the beginning of the stream that if I go down this route of trying to implement this, then I'm going to be distracted from my objective, which is to finish my prototype before I start optimizing, before I start, I've gone a little bit too far in one direction. Oh, my goodness, thank you very much. With my current awful code base, which kind of does what I want to do, just does it really badly. Oh, thank you. I'm getting treats galore. Wow, really? I'll take 2, thank you very much. Look at that. Oh, wow. Pineapple Jaffa cakes. Look at that. Oh, my goodness. Is that a nice cold drink as well? I think I could do with that. Oh, never mind. It's not for me. Yeah, I wouldn't say no. Thank you very much. Getting offered all the goods here. So that should run again. Yep, there we go. That's fixed. I'm just going to have a little bite of this. 2 seconds. Oh, that was tasty. Right. Oh, wow. Pineapple Jaffa cakes. It's pretty cool. So, right. I've said my piece. Definitely come back to this at some point. I mean, this just craps all over my cutscene script system. Really does. And I'm embarrassed to go back to this project, but you know what? I've got to work within my realm of knowledge.
It's too zoomed in. Can't see you entire screen.
Oh yeah, that was on purpose. Sorry. That's oops. Let's see now. Can I just undo? Is that it? Hey, there we go. And we're back. 1BIT, have you done a stream yet? Oh, thank you. No, thank you. Cheers. Oh, that's bad.
Just got up, overslept. Needed the rest though.
At 4 in the morning. Is it 4 in the morning there? Well, if you're streaming later on, let us know. We'll love to tune in and see what you do. And everyone, when 1BIT Godot wakes up enough to do a stream, it's going to be twitch.tv /1BIT Godot, I believe. Yes, it is. There we go. So tune in here. Get yourself a follow in there now if you haven't already.
It's nearly 4:30 a.m.
Oh man, why are you up so early? You've got to tell me what's going on. And you overslept. Are you actually working at this time in the morning? You're not a day trader, are you? You're going in on the shares pre-market.
I work better at night.
Ah, yeah. You and me both. I'm exactly the same. Yep. No distractions. It's just a nice, peaceful time especially for coding. unfortunately, I don't have the liberty. I've got a job that means I have to be up with the rest of the world, even if I am locked in and working from home. So I don't know if you caught that 1-bit Godot, but I was just saying my main goal at the moment is to prototype, optimize, and sleep. Optimization and the creation of a fantastic new cutscene system using your code, which is like absolutely fantastic. At the moment is it's just not going to happen. I am literally that's rewrite once I finish my prototype here, which really is actually helping me focus on what I need to do, which is just get something working, see if it's going to be any good or not, and if it's not, tear it up and work on something different. I spent 6 years working on a game. I wasn't the coder, and it was just painful. A painful 6 years. The first few years were great, fun, exciting, momentum, and the following 4 years were painful investments, and just the business side of things dwarfed the actual development, and it got heavy. I really don't want to ever do that again. So this is just a bit of fun. I've got to keep it that way. So at the moment, it looks like I'm trying to have a go at creating some sort of character behavior tree without creating a behavior tree. At the moment, just something simple that's going to achieve the effect I need to prove or whether or not this prototype is going to work as quickly and simply as possible. So let's go back to our to-do list of things we want our characters to do. So we want our characters to move from place to place. We want them to make background exit and arrival sounds, and we probably want to add character verbs as per the object pop-up menu. So so the first thing I'm going to do, pop those. You know what? I'm not going to do the verbs. I'm going to focus. First thing I'm going to do is focus on working out how I'm going to do this. So I did think about having a schedule, and then I realized that schedule would be one fixed schedule could be a huge amount of time, especially if we're connecting it to a timer. If we're saying that, at 1 minute past 7, this character is over here, and then at 10 minutes past 7, this character is over here. I mean, that might work, but you're never really going to see much movement. You're never really going to capture much interaction and movement with the character. So there has to be a little bit more than that. So I think there needs to be sort of a macro structure a macro schedule. So our behavior might be work, and he works between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. And whilst he's working, he will transition randomly between these two locations, and he will perform the following actions. So that allows us to create a sort of high-level behavior and macro behaviors within that high level. And then we've got to create that system and allow every character to have something along those lines. So we want something fairly quick and not too hefty. And we're going to start with Graham here. So what should we have our Graham do for now? Well, let's just start with Graham. Every 5 seconds, maybe 10 seconds, he's going to move between these two locations, balcony and the living area. And that's all he's going to do. We'll work from there. So let's have a look at our character class. Should it be our character class that controls this, or should we create a schedule class? And then how can we create a schedule? I think that's probably the way to do it. We need to let's say we have a schedule of class schedule. Can you do like that? Oh no, it's so we're going to export, I think. Is that the way? I mean, let me have a think here. How do we want to do it? I don't want to be dragging in. I want to be defining the schedule and assigning it. My question is, how do I define the schedule? What does it look like? Let's break it down a little bit. Let's switch to coding. So, well, my coding screen's gone a little bit all over the place. Let's just adjust that slightly. Display. It's really zoomed out. There we go. So, we're going to have the locations that they travel between. So, we should have location 1.
Your schedule could be a script or a scene if you want. It will export, script, or export, packed scene.
Yeah. I'm defining, so I've got the definitions of my locations within my tree. So I've got balcony, study, living area, and so on. So I want to be able to utilize these objects as part of the schedule. So I don't see that being a very. I don't think I want to be able to build my my schedule as a scene tree. I think it probably will be a script that'll reference the locations. Can you create a can we create a dictionary of locations? See, I need to go back to start looking at utilizing class names, because at the moment I'm using this sort of made up instance name character. Let me just think this through. So I want to be able to go from location 1 to location 2 to location 3. So I've got to define a path for my character. And that path will be followed. It may loop. That would mean that he'd then have to go back to location 2, and then so that would take me back to location 1. So that would be defining some sort of loop behavior. Trouble with that, of course, is it's really open to making errors. If you define like a location that doesn't exist, then it's just going to error. But we can have some error checking in there to make sure the script executes correctly. Otherwise, it throws up some problems. Why wouldn't it loop? Because you might want the character to just have the behavior where he takes you to a location and stays there. So yeah, we definitely want to have a loop in there. So, and we're going to want some sort of time. Now, do we want a start time for this behavior? That would make sense. Or maybe it's like a between time. I think so. And then on the macro side, so what does he do at location 1? How long does he spend at location 1? So we've got to think more actually about the path of what they're doing. So we need behavior at location 1. We need behavior at location 2. So he could just wait there before moving on to the next location. He could start saying things at that location. So we've got to be able to define behavior as part of this script. This is why, at the end of the day, creating a behavior tree and being able to define the behavior of the character actually saves you so much more time in the long run. This is really a fiddly bad way of doing it, I think. Well, I hate to say it, but I'm going to carry on down this road for a little bit. So let's say we start at 0, 0, 0. Our character, we assume, is starting in its current location. It's got to be starting in location 1. So we'd have to have some check to see, are they in the correct location when it starts? And if not, we've got to return some sort of error there. So then, how do we define the behavior in a scripted way? And what sort of behavior might we have? We might have a weight. We might have a set of random sounds that they might make. So those might be things they say, mumble into themselves. Excuse me. I wonder if maybe we shouldn't do like this path, or maybe the path is good. I'm actually thinking maybe we should say that part of the behavior is that they take a given exit within a location. So if they're in location 2, then they've got the choice of going to 3 or 1. And that might make it, especially if we're looking to try and create some sort of fake AI, it's going to, give us a little bit more that sort of dynamic behavior. It's not as predictable, although we still might want to have a set sequenced movement. Again, behavior tree sequenced. We could have like a probability task, whether or not it does it or not. Man, I'm seeing the benefits of this over and over. Wow. What else might they do in a given location? Might trigger dialogue. And the biggest thing they might do is check for the player for doing something.
Hi.
Hey, Thunderclap. How we doing? Thanks for joining us today. How you doing this evening or morning, wherever you are? So, what will our player do? Do you hear the sound of a tree falling? If you're not there, would the player, would the NPC do anything if the player's not there, apart from move on to the next area? So we need to actually always check really for the player. We don't want them playing random sounds, especially if we want to limit the number of sounds they might use. There's nothing worse in games when it's got the same bloody thing happens all the time. I was playing Mountain Blade 2, and you go up to the characters and they all say the same thing over and over and over again. And I realized that, it's tricky for them. They've got so many assets and resources they've got to create, and hundreds of thousands of NPCs, but it kind of is a bit of an immersion breaker when you're trying to ride around the village and take in the views. Okay, I think that's most of them.
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
Very good. Are you working on a game at the moment, Thunderclap? Anything you want to tell everyone about? Anything we can have a look at? Feel free to shout it out, and we'll have a little sneaky peek. So we want them to move. We want characters to make background exit and arrival sounds. We want a bit of interact with the characters. Anything else? Talking to the characters, obviously. Let's see, Steph's wish list. Steph's wish list. wasn't the roguelike. Here it is. Characters may say things automatically under certain conditions. Character is staring at you. Joe will narrate. So-and-so is staring at me. This needs to happen around player interaction. It cannot clash with existing audio. So we're going to make sure that nothing else is happening. So we're going to make sure that it must not clash with existing events. Again, behavior trees come in handy. Potential for forced dialogue with a character. We can have a time-based event as well, which could stop or interrupt all of this stuff. So we need to have some sort of handler for the whole system. We need actually a management system, like you would have with a behavior tree, right? 1-bit. Oh man, I'm really trying hard not to use a behavior tree, aren't I? It's just because I'm like looking at it going, oh man, if I go down there, I'm just going to be stuck working on it for ages. I kind of want to like evolve my thought into that rather than trying to force myself into
Not
using
really a project. Just started testing around in Godot.
Cool, it's awesome, man. Honestly, Godot is great. I've been using Unity for a few years, and I'm loving Godot. It's so cool. Just trying to get my head around it all. It's taking me a wee while. So, okay. So we need some sort of character management. Manager. And this is created in order to avoid collisions between talking, events, etc. Imagine a room where like 10 NPCs suddenly pile in because their behavior is like randomly chosen to like work between certain events, and they all come in at exactly the same time, and suddenly we've got like 10 audio files with the audio in sound, so we get like a trampling of feet as they all storm into the room. Might be quite good, but probably wouldn't be. It'd probably be ridiculous. So we need to try and avoid that sort of thing if we can, where appropriate, also say, because we probably would want to hear them all coming in. What would be great is if it didn't happen on the second. If we had a little bit of variation, a little bit of random variation between things happening. That way, nothing's like on the second. It feels a bit more unique, spontaneous. What else does a character manager do? It's got to avoid those collisions. It's got to handle. Maybe it's more like an event manager that we need. It's got to handle the core sounds. So we were talking about having some kind of. Let's just play this a sec. Oops. Comment this out. I can hear music. Someone's playing on the piano. All right, so comment that out, run it again. All right, so what I'm checking here is what else could clash. So it could clash with the player interacting. So if I go and turn on the TV.
Good evening. Welcome to
and
the
then
10 o'clock news.
We've got players coming in and mumbling and saying
Across
things.
the
And
world, people united on the streets in anger.
so we might want some sort of volume priority for our volume, for our sounds, so that if there's a layer of sounds going on, that we kill those sounds and or we reduce the volume of the sounds that have the least priority. So I'm going to put a little note there, and I'm going to move this stuff into. Oh no! can't uncomment my comments. I'll just move the whole thing to my dock here. So, characters. Here we go. Ding. Let's make this look a bit nicer. Oh my goodness. The guitar just died up now as well. So there's a guitar and a piano, and it sounds like they're playing that ding ding do 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 on a guitar and a piano. It sounds quite comical. So my next door neighbor. I don't know if you can hear it through the mic. Right. So, okay. Hopefully that's going to make sense to me later on, because it's a bit of a thought splurge. So I might start with some sort of management system and work from there. Oh man, I have no idea where to start with this. And that music is doing my head in. I'm gonna just like turn up my volume on something here, so I don't have to listen to it. It's just bad. He's like doing a guitar solo for that song. There we go. Let's get some. There we go. A little bit of atmospherics here. I can't wait to use all these atmospherics in the game. Some great ones. Right. So does this mean I need location-based behavior? Or I shouldn't have location-based behavior?
Any node can be extended. You can extend audio stream player to add a priority variable. So before playing a sound, you can compare the priority of a new sound with what is already playing before replacing the sound being played.
Interesting. Now, an audio stream player can't play more than one stream at once, right? Going to double check that. So audio stream player, I mean, I'm pretty sure it can't, right? Because you can only apply a single audio stream to it. So what you're saying is replacing the sound. What I'm talking about is layering up. So I've got an audio controller. So I've got a player, audio stream player, a narrator, sound effects, although I might need more than one, transition audio between locations, that's the player. I've got a location background 1, location background 2, so those alternate between each other.
You need multiple audio stream players. You can put them all under one node so the game will know where to locate them and choose the one current not being used.
Yeah, so I've done that with the background audio, so I switch between them. Yeah, pretty cool that. So yeah, you could have like a big rack of them. Find one that isn't being used and then play through it. At the moment, I know I never want the player to say any more than one thing. I know that I never want the narrator to say any more than one thing. I might want more than one sound effect playing. Like for example, the TV. So at the moment, the TV replaces the background audio, which is a bit of a hack job. But it kind of works. And then I've got the cutscene background audio. So, interesting. So I'm actually going to need some kind of rack of audio stream players. I mean, I really do need to like rewrite this thing from scratch.
Each object can have their own audio stream players to play their own sounds.
Ah, of course, right. So you would include the audio stream player. Yeah. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. See, at the moment, the way I've been building it up is, well, my scenes, character scene doesn't have anything. It's all about the script. the only reason it exists is so I could have a script attached to it. I've not really taken that approach to it, and I should have done. My cutscene, well, I've created a cutscene object. Seems to do the job, but I mean, just looking at yours, oh my god. Anyway, okay. So I've got characters here, so it makes sense that I have some sort of character controller script. My characters currently have a current location, a previous location, a method for talking, and I'm about to interact with them. I've got a script for interacting with them, and verbs which I've yet to add. So, okay, right, all right, okay. I'm trying to put myself in the object-orientated coding world here. So, I want to create a new method. A new script above characters, and we will call it the character controller. And the sound is getting a little bit intense, although the guitar's still going in the background. Let's turn that up a little bit. Right, so our character controller. Oh yeah. Template empty, inherits node. Sure. Okay, cool. So our character controller is, let's do some pseudocode here. It's going to loop through all characters, and it is going to update based on the required behavior script for each character. And it may also, so actually maybe it isn't a character controller. It may also, yeah, it's not a character controller, is it? Because this script is also going to control when events happen and occur. You know, a character might come into the room, and when that character comes in the room, something big happens. So a cutscene might start, or all sorts of things might happen. We've currently got this game script where I've been trying to build up the scripting methods for. Well, this is my cutscene, 1-bit Godot. Don't know if you already saw it before, but yeah, you can see mine's just built up purely in code with lots of yields. If I want to do something in parallel, I'd move the yield and have it there. But yeah, a little bit. I love the way that you can control and really make it accessible to a designer to come in if you're actually putting the options and allowing them to build it in the tree, rather than giving them all the opportunities of introducing syntax errors to your code and messing it up. So at the moment, character interaction. We've got character scripts. We've got interaction scripts at the moment, so this has nothing to do with it. This is purely, all this stuff is about interacting with buttons and verbs in the game. So it's all linked to clicking on things like turning on the TV, smashing the TV.
Welcome to the 10 o'clock.
Going in the lift. Hey, oh yeah, by the way, my TV's still playing. I want to go back into the living area.
Across the world, people
Still playing.
united on the streets in anger at the UN's decision to continue.
And it continues.
To
Not bad, eh?
Europa, the
Anyway,
research facility.
So maybe it isn't character controller then. Maybe it is like game controller, event controller. Let's call it event controller. Rename that script. Where have I put it? Oh no. I put it in my scenes. There it is. And also, let's get rid of this task stuff that we created. Whoa. What have I done? Oh no. I Just mashed the entire project up, have I? Oh, we're still going. What? Uh-oh. I've absolutely banjoed the project. And I haven't committed for a few days because I've been messing with the behavior tree stuff. This might be a moment to just eat my pineapple Jaffa cake going in. Oh, that's so good. Right. It did work. So let's get rid of task.gd. Okay. We're good, I think. Let's just try playing it again. Task isn't declared. That's in game. Yep, so I was setting that stuff up. Get rid of that. Process. Don't need that anymore. Shut counter. Don't need that anymore. Okay, play it again. Sam. A few. Okay, we're back in. What's that? We killed that. Okay, and we've got they've got the 3D stuff as well, which we're not doing at the moment. So that's pretty cool, though. It's good to have that stuff. Why is the scene not loading? Oh, 3D. Still working? Oops. Yeah, nothing going on there. Oh, it was part of spatial, right? Yeah, I'm definitely not deleting this stuff. This stuff is vital for me to come back to. So, just before anything goes untowardly problematic, I'm going to commit the entire project. Let's see what we've got. So, user interface has been updated to include Earth time. Locations now have little icons at the side. Global, we've got Jupiter time and a really bad bit of code for counting. Game script, we could probably just revert. I don't think there's anything new in there apart from stuff. So my counter and my task, yeah, I'll just revert that. Character controller, we're going to work on. Character GD, got the added verbs. Print, I've commented out. User interface, we've tweaked it slightly, that's fine. Spatial, I'm going to keep. Item, item, what is item? Oh, that's one of our objects in spatial. Game, yes. 3D button, yes. Project, yes. So cool. So messing around with 3D GUI and other things. Implemented time counter. Let's commit that code. And if you're coding your game and you're not using something like GitHub, then maybe you're coding your game and saving it as game 1, game 2, game 3, game 4, game 5, just so that you don't make a mistake and you go back to old versions. Honestly, start using GitHub or some sort of subversion control. It will save you a nightmare. So, we're not going to have a character controller, we're going to have an event controller, so let's rename this. And we've got our basics for our event controller. Don't want that. Event controller. So we want to loop through all the characters. We want to update based on the required behavior script. And we might want to trigger global game events based on certain conditions. If the player has completed this or done that, then we want to do this. So this is like a time. Let's just put a little description in here. So it's It's a time-based scheduler for all game events, cutscenes, etc. So the game script is an interaction-based controller for all our events, and the event controller is a time-based scheduler. All right, so next up, we're going to have a process. Oh man, I can never remember the functions. Give me a process. It's a process. Get rid of that. And so, at this point, we can use a bit of the old. So we're going to get a link to characters. So I'd like to take a leaf out of what 1-bit Godot is essentially teaching me here, and that is how to set these nodes up to be customizable more from the inspector. So I want to export a character list, let's call it, equals node path. How do we do that again? Is it just node path? Nope. I need to look at that. I'm sure I've done it somewhere. I think I do an exit, right? It's like that. Okay, so export node path character list and lowercase c. All right, so our character list is going to be so if I assign this script here, event controller, to my characters. Wait, why do I even need to do? I mean, I'm only going to have one character list, so if that's any point in doing that, what I was going to do is point this at the I don't need to do that. I literally just need to step through my characters here. So we're just going to get children, and then we'll call this character list. And maybe actually I should just do that on the ready function, right? So we'll set up of our character list, and can we do that on ready? On ready, character list equals get children. Yeah, no errors. Will that run? Seems to run. So we've got a list of characters now. So now we want to move this into our process. So now I've got to actually work out what that means, what we're associating with looping through a character. So that means that our character class, we're going to have access to the character class script. So that's character GD. So in here, we've got to have some kind of function for processing their script. So we've got to define what that script is and how it works. So let's just call it check schedule for now, or action, or I don't know what the appropriate gaming terminology would be. I'm not going to use process though. I'll just use check schedule for now. So we'll just, for now, we'll just say print checking actions for, and then we'll print out the character's name. So it's just name, right? Cool, right. So we want to check schedule in our event controller for all the characters. So we're going to loop through. Oh God, it's loop. Give me a good object-based stepping loop. do it? Player. So, nope, not looping through any there. Location, global game. Yeah, so for object in, so it'll be for character in character list. So for character in character list. So each time we step through the loop, then we're getting our character, and then we want to do character process. What was it? Check schedule. So checking the schedule for that character. So we should get a little loop constant printout here that's saying it's checking to see whether, there we go, so it's checking action for AI, Joe, Graham, and so on. Fabulous. Right, so now we want to update based on the required behavior script. So that's what we've done there, but obviously we haven't actually defined anything in there yet. And then trigger global game events based on certain conditions. Probably want to do that first before we process anything there. We have got this like overarching global script here, and we've got is playing cutscene. Did you say 1-bit Godot that you shouldn't? There was no reason ever to use a singleton auto-loaded script. Like, you just shouldn't do it. Is that right? I can see why it's really useful. I remember potentially reading you say something about that at some point and thinking, right. So, I mean, you know, if you were developing an object-oriented piece of software, I can't think of many times I'd use a global singleton script.
No, I do use a singleton.
Yeah? Alright, okay. Just checking. I don't know what the best practices are at the moment, but okay, cool. So I might want to have a singleton global game event type of check to see if some sort of event is happening. Don't know how that's going to work yet. We'll come to that if we decide to implement it. I don't think we need to jump the gun here. So, but we might want to check it here, is the point. All right, so step 2. We want to check a schedule. We haven't decided what that schedule looks like yet, but we have decided that it will be part of a character, defined within a character. Characters do have some exported values here. So would it be possible for us to create this sort of path moving behaviors in a simple interface within Godot? How would that look like? I think it depends on what we want the character to do. It could be that we override these values or script these values and change them. So we might want to load behavior up based on a certain condition within the game. So essentially giving them a new behavior tree. Not let's say, for example, that we have a fox and it's living in this sort of world of grass and bunny rabbits, and its behavior is it works. The behavior within its area works well. And then we take that fox and we put it in outer space. It's just doesn't make any sense anymore. We don't have a behavior for the location it's in. So do we have like a new tree, or do we just have a new like task when in space, float? What I'm trying to say, I suppose, is that if we have an NPC whose job is to get up at 8 o'clock, go to work, do something in that location, and then at 9 p.m. decides to pack its bags, go back to its bed, and go to sleep, then we've got a nice sequential behavior in terms of its paths. So we have a start time, gets up at 8, it does this, and in those locations it does this. That's one type of behavior. The second type of behavior is when we want that NPC to then decide, I'm going to stalk the player, or I'm going to do something more decisive. Maybe there's something you decide to say to a character, and that triggers a new behavior for the NPC, and it goes off to do something, to hide the murder weapon or whatever. Then we want to override the character's current behavior. I'm literally going through the evolution. I can just see it now, where game developers of the 1960s and 70s go through this sort of process of, I'm going to do all this, and eventually they develop the behavior tree, and suddenly it all makes sense. I think I need to take myself through this and see all the issues that behavior trees just solve and make easy for me. Right, so the first thing I want then is I want to define, I'm just going to start simple and I'm going to build it on. I don't want to get stuck up on one little thing. So I want to define a pathing structure based on a given time. I don't think I can define that so easily within the script. So what sort of object do I want? I think I'm going to want some sort of like a dictionary, where I have like a start time, maybe an end time, and then I have a path array of nodes that I move around, and then I have like a sequential, like bool. So am I just going to step through this path, or will I move up and down it randomly? Because we've got to move from one exit to the next. We can't just jump from location 1 to location 3. It's got to utilize the exits. So the path will be the path of exits ultimately, and then also whether it's looped or not, or is it a sequential. Let's say the movement is either random or sequential. If it's sequential, then it's either looped or not. So we'll default loop to false. I'll call that looped movement. What else? Any other behavior? Things like all this stuff, waiting and triggering dialogue and stuff. I don't know how we're going to, but I think we want some. So I think what we're defining here is pathing first, right? And then we're going to have to create something relating to behavior. Maybe that's on a per character basis. Maybe that's something we build into the character itself. How on earth do we do that? Do we have to have a script that extends? We have to have an individual script that extends the character script, and then assign that script to each character. So it has a character base, and then this is the same thing I struggled with the exit object. Okay. All right, let's just try and create this and see what comes from it. Okay, so let's moving this to this other screen so I can see what I've written here. Bring it over. All right, so let's look up how we create dictionaries. Dictionary Godot. Now you can have different types, right? Within a dictionary, you don't have to have the same thing all the way through. Let's look at this dictionary here. My dir, just going to do array. So, how's this going to work? That's not it. That's the wrong place. That's the event controller. I'm going to run into the same problem here. I'm going to need a script per character. I'm going to have to do this like this. So I'm going to create a new folder. We'll call it character. I really need to like completely redo my folders here. Character scripts. And in there, I'm going to create a new script called Graham. So I'm going to utilize the Graham script. So that's going to be, that's going to contain all our behavior for Graham. And so we're going to create a new export here, and we're going to call that the Behaviour script. It's not going to be JSON in this case. And so now we can go up to Graham, and we've got a behavior script here. We can pull his script in. Nope, doesn't like that. I can click on here and go scripts, character scripts, Graham. There we go. That's a string file. I'm sure we can. So can we? How do we? Oh my goodness! How are we going to do this? So load Godot script within a script. Use preload for other scripts. Cool.
You can export script, then you can just create an instance from the variable.
Sweet. Okay, well, let's do that then. Thanks. 1BIT. So export script, and then we'll just do that on the onReady. So do a var. I notice you're using underscores for private variables. I'm going to try and start doing the same thing. That's good. So we'll call that behavior. And then on the ready, then we set behavior to the behavior script. Is that right? Will that give me access to behavior now? If I put a load of code in there, let's try it out. So in here, we'll create a function called function called move, and we'll pass in an exit. This is not the way we'll do this, to be honest. That should be a function that exists inside character. Let's just do another function called test, and we'll print it works.
You need to call new or instance. I forgot which method.
Okay, let's have a look. I'm just gonna, you know what, because there's no ladies chatting in this. I've been wanting to do this for a while. I'm just gonna go into settings here. Whether it's better or not. What's that? What's this do? There we go. There we go. Oh, there's only two options, Hazel and Zero. Want to say something else? Let's see what Zero sounds like. Might be really annoying. It doesn't come up when I type it.
Hello, Zira.
Oh, yeah. No, let's go back to the. Let's go back to the other one. My goodness. Don't know about this restream stuff. Restream is for streaming to YouTube and Twitch at the same time. It's a little bit temperamental. It seems to be working. Now I've got it sort of stable. It seems to be all right. But you miss out on all the goodies that Twitch gives you. I've got none of this cool stuff.
Hello, Zyra.
Oh, listen to that pronunciation. It's completely changed. Oh, hi, Nozzle. Zyra says, hello. I need to create a little AI bot called Zyra now. Right, so behavior. So behavior equals behavior
Call
script.
new method on the script.
Okay, so just here. Behavior equals new, like that. Capital N. Nope. Let's just Google it. See if there's any other. Preload. Wouldn't that work? Oh, there you go. Dot new. Is that it? All right. Let's just try that. And in check schedule here, we'll have behavior.
Yes.
Dot test. And now our character should say, whatever Graham tests, it should say it works loads and loads of times over and over again. Here we go. Oop, nope, crashed. Non-existent function no for behavior script. Hold on. Why don't I just do that? Oh, because it doesn't exist yet. Can I just do that in onReady? Preload behavior script. Oops. Yeah? No. Expect a string constant.
Have you assigned the script yet?
Yep. Yep, I have. Oh, did I change it? I think I might have changed it. Yeah, I changed it. Ooh, look, it's exporting the behavior there. Why is that? Isn't that a bit odd? What's going on there? Oh, it's because it's playing. There we go. There we go. Right, Graham. It's not Graham. It's, wait, it is Graham. Graham is of type character. Is it because of this error? There we go. Right, yep, I've lost the script. So, Graham. So, what you would do, right, if I remember what your code did, you said if underscore behavior, oh, wait a minute, if not underscore behavior. Is that right? Return false. Right? No, we wouldn't want to do that in the ready function. We just do that. No? Still doesn't like it. Expect a string constant as preload argument. Yeah, it doesn't like doing it that way, does it? Okay, so we want to import.
Go back to the old code.
Okay. There we go. I'm just going to type in Godot import dynamically. Import script. I want to export. Sorry, I'll move that so you can see. I want to export script dynamically. Export strings. Export script. Not even a single example. Let's just try this. If I search for that in Google, it's always a great way of finding some examples. How can I export in custom resource type? Yes. No. Scoria. Exporting script var animations. So if I search for animations, oh, okay, interesting. About the ready function here. Ready. If not animations, else. There's no use either. Don't I get stuck on every tiny little thing I get trendy? Perfect. I'm getting some pretty random results here. What about that? Could this be it? Export script var script type script. This type value is very set get. Oh, do we need to use a set get? So we set it, and then we have a setter that then. So here we're setting a constant preload my script, which is completely pointless because we want to export the script anyway. We need an export constant variable which doesn't exist. Use a conditional setter for a tool script that checks if it's executing in the editor. Tool? Does it have to be a tool then if we're adding a script? I'm sure I read that somewhere as well. Surely not.
No.
Good. I'm sure you're right. I just need to get this new code working. Godot instantiate our instance script. How to instance a script. You don't instantiate a script, it says here. You do it to nodes. You can add a script in an instant node or a pre-existing one. You set all the commands you need in the ready function. Look at this example. It's preloading again. Maybe you can't do it. Maybe I shouldn't do it. Maybe I should just use JSON.
I think your code should work now.
Well, like this. I don't think it does. I think it just crashes on the new. Yeah, non-existent function new in base nil. So, behavior script. Oh, wait a minute. It's empty again. Right, okay. Graham.gd. Boom. GD just contains that. And nothing else. So, run. Still getting non-existent function new and base nil. We shouldn't have nil though if we've defined behavior script. And Oh, wait a minute. Is it trying to do it for... It's probably trying to do it for all the characters. So I need to do an if behavior script not equal to null, right? Again. Hey, oh. For God's sake. Let's just see what object we're looking at here. So self is object 13533, which is a character whose name is... I don't know. Got the same face as everyone else.
Don't load in ready. Put the code in _process.
Oh, really? Okie dokie. But I only want to load it once, right? Oh, see, we would only load once in process, right? So, okay.
With the condition.
Yeah. Cool, okay. I will forever think of you as this sort of bossy school teacher with that voice, honestly. And everyone else. Right. Underscore process. Void. We'll pass in delta, right? Delta. And pull it back a little bit.
Sorry, check _schedule, not process.
Oh, you want me to load it in check schedule? Okay, all right. Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. Play. All right, non-existent function test. Okay. Oh, well, that bit worked, although probably got a null or something, because we have only got one Graham script. Let me just assign Jove and all these people with the same script just to see if actually this function works at all. Right, so they've all got the behavior script of Graham. It works. Thanks, man. You are a star, as always. Cool. All right. So you can tell it works because it says down here that it's working. Right, super. I'm going to switch back out of my code view, by the way. There we go. Okay. All right, super. So where were we? So we've got a script then. We can create character scripts. So let's define what that means then. It means that we can set some sort of per character data or function. So it's going to be data, right? So so we can say
I have to go do some stuff. Bye.
See you later, 1BITGODOT's. Thanks for joining me, man. Let me know if you're going to start a stream anytime soon. Don't want to miss it. Certainly don't want to miss your first one, man. Have a good night or morning. All right. So yeah, it's 10:30. It's getting on a bit. So I think I want a dictionary. Let's have a look at my scripts. Where did I write this? What's that? Yeah, so I've defined some kind of script pseudocode here. Start time and end time, a path, a movement. So now we don't need to. We probably do need to be able to set up a load of these for a given character. So maybe we have an array of behaviors. So what would we call it? We have an array of dictionaries. An array of dictionaries. Python. Let's go for Godot, just in case. Defining an array of dictionaries or something kin. Okay, yeah, that's nice and neat. So let's do something like that. So we define our... Can we do it like that? Unexpected token identifier X. Would I have to define it down here in test? Yeah, so I think. Yeah. Okay, so we can load behavior as our function. And then we can call this behavior. Well, I must have hit my insert button. Okay, I'm going to call it underscore behavior. I know I don't want to call it. I'm going to call it behavior. It's a publicly accessible variable. So look at all these errors I'm getting because of this. So I don't want strength and dexterity and so on. So I want to create a dictionary here. So I am going to start with start time. And I wonder if I can just call this like 0701, for example. Happy with that? This is not happy with that. Nope, doesn't like that. Expecting a comma. Is it just to define a variable in? Where does it want the comma? Dictionary values. I mean, will that work? Yeah, so what's wrong with that? Wait a minute. Oh, of course. That is nonsensical. I'm creating a string, right? So start time, end time, 0702. So for this minute, from let's say from the minute from 0700 to 0702, we're going to do something, comma. Okay, great. I lost my little test string there. Put it back in. Okay. What else do I want next? I want to implement an array of nodes. So where am I moving within this time frame? Where am I moving within the game? So can I do that? Can I have paths and then define an array in here? Is that going to work? 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, it does. How can I connect that to objects? Let's go for living area, comma, study, comma, living area, comma, balcony, and we'll loop between those paths. Next up, is the movement random or sequential? I probably could define this as a property of Graham, right? I'd have to create a big big load of dictionaries, it would be a pain in the ass to define it. Because it's got like a drop-down system. Probably easier to just make this look like this. Start breaking down the properties into a nice little block. And then I could just duplicate this over and over. So paths, movement, we want it to be sequential. And looped movement. Will be true. Keep moving around those areas. That's it. All right. Let's see if we can access these now. Right. So it's going to be behavior, and it's within an array. So behavior equals an array. Then we're appending to the array a single dictionary item, so it's index 0 within the array, and then start time, I think. So let's just see if I can print that variable. And we should get 0700 rather than it works, and then I know I'm accessing the data correctly. Of course, it's not test anymore, is it? What did we change it to? We changed it to load behavior. Wow, what's going to happen now is it's going to get super big real quick. You know what we need to do is just do it once. And we only want to load the behavior once for that character. So there we go. Should get it once. Let's scroll back up to the beginning here. Oh man! All right, let's just turn off this print here. And again. Yay! 0700. Oh yeah. Right. So now we want to check if the time is 700. We want to execute that behavior tree and start running whatever it's asking, whatever we want it to do. So, okay, so load the script for character, if not already loaded. So here we've got to say behavior script's not equal to null, and behavior, what's our default value for behavior? We'll say equals null until it's loaded. Behavior not equal to null. Cool. So it should only now say 700 once, right? It's only going to load. It's going to load the script once, because as soon as it loads the script, it loads the behavior up, and it should never run that again. So, man, we've got nothing. Of course, because it never loads once. So, oh, behavior equals null. Of course. Wow, loaded 3 times. Oh, of course, for each character. Bing, bing, bing. Beautiful. Okay, fantastic. So back into Graham. So load behavior loads our behavior. So we can print out, keep that, we'll use that later. We'll do a little print here and just say loaded behavior for name. Cool. All right, so now we've got access to this information here from our character script. So we can actually start doing things automatically, not just we can do stuff based on the script we loaded from Graham here. So, if given time, so check for a match with what should we call it? Check if behavior is within a given time frame. Now, actually, we should probably again do this in Graham script, right? So we're loading behavior here. So our Graham script, what do we want Graham to do next? So we want to kind of want like a current behavior. So var current behavior. Right. Okay, so this is like our manager. So if we have a load of these, so if I create another one, then we can create behaviors for 7 to 8 o'clock, and then from 8:01 to I don't know, let's say 24-hour clock here, 17:30. So he gets up, he has a shower, goes to work, works till 5:30. Poor bastard. And your roper, no doubt, no less. And then from 5:30 to 06:59, he's back in his bed, fast asleep. So we might actually have him come out at this time, away from the living area, different path, different place. Maybe he transitions within a certain time, sequentially, and ends up. And then his final behavior, we might have him, so, well, this is his work, right? So he's at work here. So we get out, get up, and showered, might be our behavior here. Then here is, would be path to work, right? And then here would be, working. So this might be random, for example. This path would be sequential. His preparing in the morning might be random. Gonna go and shave his beard here and blah blah blah. This would not be looped, right? Oh no, it is looped, but oh no, the path to work would be false. He just goes to work and ends up in a position. So this would be like 8:01 to, I mean, how far is it going to take? How long is it going to take him to get to work? We'll say 8:03 or something. And then from 08:04 to 17:30, he's now working, and so on. And then we would have path to bed, same sort of things. The guy goes back home, and then sleeping. So path to quarters, let's call it. Quarters. Cool, we're getting somewhere. So I know this is just not the greatest way of doing it, but it's starting to define kind of what we want how we want our character to behave. So our current behavior would be like 0. It's whatever we start at. So this will be the first thing. It will start off with him waking up in the living area. Or maybe current behavior, actually, it doesn't matter what current behavior is, because what's going to happen, it's going to check what time it is, and it's going to trigger the start behavior at whatever time it's at. So we're going to need to some sort of behavior set or started, something like that. So when we start a behavior, then he will continue to do that behavior. I don't know if there needs to be an end time, to be honest. You could just let them, why don't we just let them do what they need to do until until a new start time comes in. End time's completely pointless. Really bad. Yeah. So we're basically deciding what the player's going to, or the NPC's going to do based on the current time of day. And he might not path around at all. Might just stay in that one area, like sleeping. Well, he's just going to be in his living area, right? In his bed. And his movement is not going to be, it's just going to be sequential, just stay there. And it's not looped, but it doesn't really matter, because he just goes to bed, and that's it. Next thing we need to do is define, because we're talking about pathing here, we're going to define what the movement is going to be. I mean, sorry, what the behavior is going to be. What they're going to do in these areas. So, right, well, you know what? It's 10 to 11. Made some headway with that, which is great. So I am going to commit that code, and next up, I'm going to try and work out how the heck I get this kickstarted tomorrow. And I can't wait, actually. I can't wait to have a player moving around while we're there, just watching him move around, and then being able to interfere with that behavior is the next step. If we start talking to that character and the clock's still going, we're going to actually interfere with the behavior. Wonder how quickly we'll break it. Probably really quickly. So thanks for tuning in. If you're visiting for the first time, then thanks for tuning in. Thunderclap, and who was here earlier? It was Thunderclap and Nossil CD. Thanks for tuning in. Please do, if you're enjoying the content, find it useful, please like and subscribe. If you've got a channel or any projects you want to shout out for, let us know. Love to look into other stuff. Totally want to see what other people are doing and learn from everyone. So I am but a humble learner here, trying to get my head around Godot, learn what's possible. Certainly 1-Bit Godot providing a lot of inspiration. He's pretty hardcore, so hoping a bit of what he does rubs off, even if I am a little bit hesitant to launch myself down the hardcore paths that he suggests. So thanks for tuning in. Have a great night. It's Friday tomorrow. Get in. More time spent at home at the lockdown, but this time on a Friday. So fantastic. Have a good one, and sleep tight. See you tomorrow, 9 p.m. BST.